Welcome to Esalen Live, where we chat with change agents and swim deep waters in an ongoing exploration of human potential. I'm your host, Christine Chen. What does it mean to be mindful, especially in our current global pandemic? Today on Esalen Live is Dan Zigmond. He's a Zen priest and author of Buddha's Office. He's chatting about top distractions that unravel us and the real meaning of mindfulness and the magic of modern stillness. And here he is, very still, waiting for his turn to talk. Hi there, Dan. Nice to see you.
Hi, thank you so much. It's great to be here.
It's great to see you as well. So, you're a Zen priest, and I imagine this was quite the journey from being inspired to go down this path and what you used to be. So, I have this picture that you sent me. Is this old Dan or new Dan?
I think that's old Dan. Yeah, so I've been practicing Buddhist for a long time, but I've also worked in technology for a long time. I think that's I can't even remember exactly which job that was. But for a long time, I really tried to keep those two parts of myself completely separate. So old Dan would go to the office and write code and crunch numbers, and then maybe on the weekends or at home would go off and meditate and go to retreats. Um, but some point over the last, I don't know, 10 years or so, I started to feel like that separation wasn't working for me anymore, wasn't healthy. And so New Dan tries to kind of pull all these things together and bring the Zen priest side of myself and the tech worker side of myself into one place and bring that whole self with me where I go to work.
Yeah, that's quite a feat. And I think it's something that a lot of us want to do a lot more of, especially since there's work from home. There's so many different forces at play now. This is Esalen Live, and we are with Dan Zigman, a Zen priest and author of Buddha's Office. He has a workshop coming up at Esalen soon, which we will talk about. But if you're joining us live, feel free to let us know where you're joining from. And if you have any questions, float them into the chat. And Dan is also going to soon lead us on a little bit of an experience of mindfulness and stillness. So stay with us for that. Wanted to ask you, Dan, what are the top distractions that kind of unravel us from this place where we can kind of put it together like you have? So this is old Dan, new Dan, kind of putting it together. But there are so many things that cause us overwhelm, especially today.
Yeah, I usually start my teaching by telling a little bit about the life of the Buddha himself, who was the first to develop this tradition of meditation that I practice and that I teach. And I like to remind people that Buddha didn't just live before televisions and screens and smartphones. Buddha lived before paper. So almost everything that we imagine as a distraction today didn't exist back then. And yet, even then, 2,500 years ago, Buddha worried about us being too distracted, about us struggling to pay attention and to be aware of each moment of our life. And I think if you think about it, I mean, at first we might wonder, like, well, what could possibly have been distracting him? I mean, he
Mm,
didn't have anything. Um, but if you think about it, of course, what was distracting him was, his own mind. And so all of these things, our phones, our computers, um, they're really just engaging that distraction that's already within us. And so
mm.
the same techniques that Buddha developed to kind of combat that distracted mind, we can use today to combat the distraction of all of these devices that often leave us in kind of a bit of a fog.
And I want to bring this up and thank you. Randy's joining us from the Smoky Mountains in North Georgia. Hello.
Oh, wonderful. Hi.
Yeah, hi, thank you. And send Dan a little love in the chat with a heart emoji or a thumbs up emoji if what he's saying is really resonating. And I'm guessing it does because these two images that are from your book, Buddha's Office, kind of show us daily life sometimes. So we eat while we work and we're on the phone at the same time, or we're like dropping things, forgetting things. If at home this resonates with you, this session we're talking about with Dan is absolutely for you. Describe this and how that affects us each day.
So much of our life we spend not really paying attention to what we're doing. We think we're able to multitask, but multitasking is really just shifting our attention very quickly from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, and maybe then back to the first, without ever really pausing long enough to enjoy or experience each of those things that we're trying to do. Um, and what I try to teach is that through a practice of meditation, we can learn to kind of build up that attention muscle in the same way that you can build up physical muscles by, going to the gym and lifting weights. And that once you've built up that attention muscle in meditation, you can apply that muscle, whether that's, at work, at home, doing the dishes, being with your friends, being with your kids, being with your partner, and actually pay attention to each of these things that we're doing in our life.
And then you also discern between still and unstill versus mindful, not mindful. And this is you meditating. And would you tell us who this is?
Sure. So that's myself and Tara Cottrell, who's the co-author of my first book, Buddha's Diet, and we were invited to participate in this program of public meditations, where they invite meditation teachers and others to sit and meditate out in public. And so this is actually at the Palo Alto Caltrain station, which probably is for most of us one of the least still places we could go. You've got loud trains going, you've got commuters walking around. And yet, if we can find some stillness, even in the midst of that kind of environment, we can take that stillness with us literally anywhere.
Love it. And would you mind leading us on some kind of experience right now where we might be able to feel that? Because I think we maybe intellectually understand the difference between stillness versus not being still, but could we experience it with you a little bit right now? And also, Tina, thank you. Multitasking is a myth. Virginia says restitution and says sends a little bit of love to the tribe, the Esalen tribe, and we do as well. Thank you. So, Dan, would you please let us know if you can lead us on a
Um,
little experience here?
I would love to do that. So, a meditation, a short meditation that I like to do, sometimes even in the middle of the workday. I mean, really anywhere. You can do it even at a Caltrain station. Is a listening meditation. So I'd ask everybody who's with us right now, find a comfortable place to sit. Traditionally we'd be sitting on the floor on cushions, but most of us today are probably sitting on chairs. Looking at our computer or our phone to watch this. So make yourself comfortable. Try to sit as upright as you can with your shoulders back, your back straight. Place your hands, comfortably in your lap or on your thighs, somewhere away from any keyboard or device that might distract you. Um, and because this is a listening meditation, if you're using like noise canceling headphones, maybe turn the noise canceling off so you can actually hear what's around you for a moment. Um, I'm going to ring the bell. I have a little bell here 3 times. And what I ask you to do is just listen to the bell. Listen to the bell until you can't hear it any longer, and then I'll come in with a little more instruction, and together we'll experience a little bit of stillness. So for now, sit comfortably. You may want to close your eyes. All you'll need right now is your ears and your attention. Now allow yourself just to listen. Now that the bell has faded, listen to every sound you can hear around you. For me, it's a truck going by outside, footsteps in the next room, the creaking of floorboards, the ticking of a clock. Just allow yourself to notice every single sound. Notice these sounds without evaluating them, without judging them. Allow each sound to express its own unique music, whether it's a car, a child, or a bird. And notice these sounds without grasping them. Once you've noticed a sound, let it go and listen for the next. In a moment, I'll ring the bell again, just once, to end this session. And when you hear this bell, once again, listen to the bell. Listen to it until you can't hear it any longer. Then take one more breath in, release one more breath out, and open your eyes.
Mm.
One more breath in, one breath out, and open your eyes.
Thank you so
Thank you
much,
so
Dan.
much.
Yeah.
Oh, thank
You
you.
know, we'd love to hear at home. I noticed a bunch of you stayed with us, and I'm hoping practice that with us. Let us know in the chat how you feel or what you're feeling right now about that practice. And maybe if you have any questions for Dan, you're more than welcome. And hello, Carol. Thanks for joining us from Alberta. Appreciate it. So, Dan, did we, and I think I know the answer to this, but I want to hear from you. Did we experience mindfulness or stillness or both in that practice?
I think both. To me, mindfulness is the practice of paying attention and of exercising this attention muscle so that we can pay attention to everything we do. Um, and we practice that in meditation the same way we might, practice driving in an empty parking lot. Because it's a little easier to learn how to pay attention when you don't have quite so many distractions going on around you. So we
Hmm.
find a quiet place and we practice paying attention when there aren't too many distractions. Um,
Right.
and through that practice of paying attention, I think we experience this stillness. We experience, often a moment of clarity. Um, one Zen master described it as being like taking a glass of muddy water, and no matter how much you shake it, it stays muddy. But if you just sit it down and leave it alone, eventually the mud settles to the bottom, and you get this clarity. And so from that stillness comes clarity.
Yeah. So much of what people talk about now is living a mindful life and being mindful as you live. It's almost become like a buzzword, but you've sort of taken it to a place where we talk about meaningful stillness. Can you talk about these two things, what the difference is and what the benefit is for modern life?
Absolutely, yes. This is an example from the Asian Art Museum in San Francisco, where we did a public meditation some years ago, back before the pandemic, and when it was a little easier to gather in these public places, and and again to help people experience both mindfulness and stillness anywhere, even out in a busy museum. Um, to me, stillness is the result of paying attention, is the result of developing mindfulness. And I use attention and mindfulness interchangeably. As you say, mindfulness has become a bit of a buzzword. But if you look at the Buddhist scriptures, the word used is just sati, which is just the same word for remembering or paying attention to something. So one way to think about what mindfulness is it's just remembering the present, remembering where you are right now. Um, and so in that sense, it's a very basic skill. Um, but applying that skill, I think, really has tremendous benefits and allows us um, to live a fuller and more meaningful life.
For sure. Could you give us a real world example? Because so Ligia, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. She said, yes, that was lovely. Experience the stillness. Ben says, thank you, and hello from Bethesda, Maryland. Thank you for
Mhm.
joining on Esalen Live with Dan Zigman, Zen priest and author of Buddha's Office. But in real life, let me go back to the conversation. In real life, we think, okay, I'm going to have to sit and be peaceful and I'm going to sit on my cushion, all these things
Mhm.
we think we need to meditate and be mindful. But really, the reality is masks at a grocery store, parking spaces, if we're lucky enough, um, hustling to work, to have a job, if they're
Mhm.
asking us to come in. Like, how can we practice this in real life with all the things that challenge us right now?
You know, to me, the challenge is really finding ways to stay engaged in all of those situations, to stay present. One trick I sometimes use for myself is to try to really notice each person that I encounter. And a way to sort of force myself to do this is I sometimes try to spend a whole day where I notice the color of the eyes of every single person I meet, whether that's someone like you that I'm talking to online, or a cashier at the grocery store who's maybe wearing a mask and the eyes are the only thing I can see, or even someone who pulls up next to me in traffic. But by sort of doing this little trick of trying to actually notice the color of their eyes, it forces me to see them as a real
Mm.
person, and to have that moment of presence with them, where otherwise they might just sort of fade into the background in this blur of things I'm doing each day.
Yeah, I love that so much. It's a simple practice and exactly what you're talking about. You have a workshop coming up at Esalen that really will do a lot of these things. Can you describe it for us?
Yes, and in fact, I'm planning another one later this year in November as well. Um, what we do in these meditation retreats is we really do spend time sitting together in meditation. So I give some instructions as I've been doing here, and we spend a lot of time sitting together. Then I answer questions about how to engage in that practice. And my goal in these retreats is really just that each person leaves feeling that they can start a daily meditation practice
Mm,
themselves, or if they already have a daily meditation practice, that they can kind of reinvigorate it.
I love.
Because really, what's important to me is that you find time in your life to meditate each day.
Oh, well, those of you who have been to Esalen or even seen this picture know that these are the infamous baths. And I think part of your workshop experience is to have a special meditative bath experience at the hot springs. Can you explain that?
That's absolutely right. The first retreat that we did this year was small because of COVID restrictions, and so actually we could all go down to the baths together. Now the retreats are a bit larger, so we don't all fit at the same time. But I ask each student to find time after one of our group meditation sessions to go down to the baths and actually practice sitting meditation, sitting in the baths, because it's such a powerful experience to have both the physical, sensual experience of being in this wonderful location, feeling the warm water against your skin, listening to the sounds of the waves, and then in the midst of that almost overwhelming sensory experience, to find that stillness and to pay attention to your breathing and your body. And it's one of the things that's just absolutely unique to leading retreats at Esalen that I love to do.
Well, we loved having you here on Esalen Live. Randy said it helped me connect with my sense of hearing, enhancing my sensory experience. Uh, Carol says, what a nice practice. Thank you, all of you. And if what Dan has offered here today has resonated with you and helped you in any way, just make eye contact with someone today and be
Mhm.
careful, mindful, present with it. What a simple yet profound practice. And thank you so much for sharing everything that you shared today, Dan.
Thank you so much.